sharing what rules you have broken and have been breaking. Just curious. Stops, not honoring your stops, averaging down, all of the above. Dun dun dun. Chasing not as bad. I don't feel as bad about chasing as I feel about honoring stops. The honoring the stops one is the one that's really because the honoring the stops one, that's like gasoline on a fire. You know what I mean? Like when you're not honoring your stops, it's gonna work. And that's the bad part, right? Is it's gonna work until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, you know what I mean? Your normal trade is under the same guise, right? It's going to work until it doesn't. But when it doesn't, you know exactly how much you're losing, right? Well, your other system, it's going to work until it doesn't. But when it doesn't, you have no idea how much you're going to lose in the process, right? So, you know, instead of losing 1R, which is what you would intend if it doesn't work, right? You could end up losing 3R, 4R. All of my biggest blow-ups, Gus, when I was early trading and I was really hurting myself quite a bit, all of my biggest blow-ups were those kind of blow-ups, right? Were blow-ups where I inevitably thought I like knew more than the system at the moment, and I would have 1 or 2 days where I would bail myself out and it would work, right? Like it would go against me. I'd either add in or I just would remove my stop, let it go in, and then come back all in the range. But what ends up happening is, one, I would end up cutting the original position that I held for way too early, right? Once it got green, I would be so happy it was back in the green. Any adverse movement whatsoever, and I would just bail the position and take whatever little green I could get out of it, right? So my winning trades ended up becoming half-R winning trades, 1R winning trades, right? And then my losing trades would become 1R losing trades to even 2R losing trades, right? And over time, that morphed into, although my hit rate was actually quite decent, right? I'd hit 60%, 70% of the time, I was actually losing money, right? And it was because my RVR was inverted, right? I was like 2-to-1 risk, right? I was willing to risk twice as much to make half as much, right? And that never levels, right? There's no way to. It'd be very difficult to find a consistent strategy there. So I would just. I'm still short LSID. I wanted LSID. Twitter's in its own place right now. Twitter's in the Twitterverse. Let's look at LSID. Oh, I'm so annoyed with LSID right now. Let's look at some trades. VPA all day. I think your name is the answer. Get out when it tells you to. This does not look like, yeah. So there you go. There's your answer. Dude, I'm so mad about Rivian. Rivian triggered on PivotBot. I clicked to enter the trade, but I think I missed the button, or it didn't. Something didn't happen, and then I went, "Oh no, I'm not in it." And then I looked back and I tried to reassess, but by then it had already gone. And I was like, "No, I missed it." And then I got impatient and I didn't wait for the pullback. I could have waited for the pullback to R3 and shorted there, but I got impatient. But look, this ladder right now, I mean, you've got heavy down at 1950, and that's where floor 4 is, right? So I still think you probably should feel pretty comfortable about here, right? I would just, you've got some orders below it as well still. So for me, I would really just kind of focus on, no, your ladder down to 19 looks pretty robust. Right. But after 19, you do start to level to weaken a bit, and you are missing some solid orders in between 19 and 1950. So I have a feeling you're going to bounce at 1950. It'll probably run 1950, wick it and hit it, and then it'll probably bounce off and come back up to, look, we've got these doubled orders here at 2030. That's right about here. Right, so that would let us bounce, and then we'd probably retrace right to there, which is the bottom of this range, right, and then consolidate there, and then probably move down towards 19. Unless something on, that's what the book looks like right now, at least. Yeah. Purple is 4, pink is 3. But I mean, the thing is you're going to need a lot of volume. You know what I'm saying? To reverse this thing. I mean, it's nicely trending. You've never look at the 3-minute here. You've never even, one test of the 20. Other than that, you're just trending the 9 basically this whole time. So I wouldn't even start worrying about this at all unless it, comes back too hard against $20. But no, not really. I would for the best reversal, Leon, I would like volume, right? So what I would like, so for right now, I'm saying I don't see this as a reversal, right? Even if it does turn around, I'm gonna view that more as like a pullback than a reversal per se, right? And if we push down here, because I want to see like this kind of volume. Right. I want to see like 1 million shares. I want to see 750,000 shares come through within a very short period of time, 1 to 5 minutes, right? 1 to 3 minutes. I want to see 1 million shares, right? When that happens, I'll know we've hit something interesting, right? Something worth buying off of. But for now, until we hit that bidder, that large order that's going to give us some support or some value, I got no dice, right? Ooh, a firm call. I wanted a firm so bad. Darn it. A firm called. I was already in positions. Look at a firm at R4. It was a unicorn. I missed a unicorn today. R4 to S6. Yeah, you do have to change if it needs it. You change. You gotta switch it. Yeah, I have a button that does it, so I can actually switch between without pre-market and with pre-market using a hot button. Yeah, man. I was just a little. No, the thing was, so this is why. So at first, I liked the Qs, right? The Qs opened under R3, pulled back into VWAP, held the open price. So I went short. I got dropped, stopped, and went out at break even. And then I just didn't quite find anything I was just in love with. I tried this trade on Nvidia under R3. I gave it the open price. And it got really, really close, but thank goodness it held. I got down to 2-1. I took partials, and then I was setting a range order in, and I've done this 2 or 3 times now, and I've just completely botched it. So I got to start being a little more careful with this. I think I was just typing a little too fast. I was trying to start setting my range orders to hit targets down for S4, and I accidentally took my whole position off. So which was nice. I mean, it ended up being like, a 3R. You did that today too. So I gotta just slow down. I got excited because I knew I'd caught Nvidia, and look at it still. I got so excited because I knew I caught Nvidia. Look at the freaking daily on this thing. Look at the ISA pivot. I knew if this thing made new lows, it was going to set an isolated pivot off of R4 on the intraday. I got so excited because I knew I just nailed Nvidia. Right. I was like, I got it. I got it at the top of the daily range. I got it as it's losing R4 on the daily. This thing is perfect. Look how good this trade is. I mean, my goodness, but I messed it up with the order. Oh, well, what are you going to do? Oh, man. But lastly, after that was Apple. I got a really nice trade on Apple, kind of in a similar way. Apple came to R3, came back to test again. So I went ahead and went short when it wicked R3. It came down. I got 2 good partials and I stopped out. So I actually tried a quick add and then I stopped, but it went through anyway. So, and then it ended up cracking down to the central pivot, but oh well, that was my day. So I ended up, between those various trades, I ended up with like a 6-7 hour day. So no home runs. Missed the home run on Nvidia. Missed the home run on Rivian. Super disappointing. We had so many good calls on PivotBot today. Did you guys see that Brian? Did you guys see Brian Pesum took Baba, PivotBot on Baba? Did you guys see that? Does anyone else feel like you've made it? You know what I mean? Anyone feel like that you've personally kind of made it when the Prophet of Profit starts using something of yours to do a call, right? Look, and look, for the record, PivotBot alerted S4 breakdown on Baba, but I think it alerted at S3. Yes, it did. Oh man. Anyway, that was cool that he got a little piece of it, and it's just nice to see. It's nice to see people using the bot. So I'm really excited to see people having success and enjoying the bot. We are for the record, we are working on we have identified what we feel like are our criteria that we're going to need to try and get the bot to stay alive longer. So we are busting butt on that. And by we, I mean Jason. I mean, I'm giving him the idea and the criteria, but he's the one who has to turn that into math. So, but we're working on something we think will rock it out. How bad do we want PivotBot to be on all day? I know I do. Anyway, Jason, look at this NVIDIA unicorn, man. Gazoo, totally missed it. I mean, I got it. I nailed it. This is the best trade. This would have been, if I hadn't have had this error, this would have been one of the best trades, just period, of my month. Yeah, it's called the subtle art of intraday trading. So and it's based on it's not based on the US market. It was written by a dude, and it's based on the Indian stock market or something like that. So I'm okay with it. It's not, I mean, it just, it's, if it was the exact same name, it would stink, and I wouldn't do it. I would have to switch it. Well, so SJ, that's one of the reasons I like the title. Not for nothing, but it'll certainly help my title be more searchable to have it similar. But Enrico, oh, but yeah, so right now I've tried to come up with some different titles that I thought could do it, or would change things around. But for me, I haven't found one that I like better. For me, stock trading really is an art form, and I think a lot of people try and make stock trading technical, and technical can and does work, just not for me. I'm more artistic with the way I read stocks and the way I read price action. It's more subtle for me. So but those nuances and reading those subtle nuances perform at a rate I have seen nothing else perform at. I can the trades that I get off of these pivots combined with tape reading, the RVR on these trades is so good. The moves on these trades is so good, and I don't have to spend any time prior. Like every single morning when I sit down, I don't have a watch list, right? Every single morning. I don't have stocks that I play every day. I mean, other than SPY and Qs, obviously, but I really don't have stocks that I play every day, right? I don't have something that I'm married to, because I don't know if Roku is going to perform tomorrow just because it performed yesterday, right? And there's no reason to assume it will, right? So for me, every single day when I sit down, I just want a fresh look at everything. What is happening today, right? RVR is risk versus reward, Mike, in the context that I'm speaking of, right? So what I'm saying is that if I'm going to risk, so there's a lot of times when you're stock trading that the risk versus reward probability will keep you, or should keep you, from taking a trade. So for instance, let's say you have a trade that creates like this really wide bar like this, right? And you want to go long, right? You don't want to go long here, right? Because if you go long here, your stop will have to be down here, which means to get to, if you're going to risk 1R, or, you know, however much you're risking at your stop, to make it make sense, you're going to need 2R the other direction, right? And to get to 2R is going to take forever, right? So the risk versus reward. I should have hit 400. I saw it, Jared. I saw it when it hit 400, when the volume profile completely shifted off of that 400 spike, though. So this is why when we range trade, and Mike, because we were having a conversation about the different types of traders we are. I'm a tape reader, right? I'm a tape trader, technically, right? I trade almost entirely using level 2 and tape at this point, right? But I use ranges in order to put myself in the best areas in which I expect participation shifts to happen, right? When do I expect sellers to get freaked out? When do I expect buyers to get freaked out? When do they get excited? When do they not get excited, right? And so that's really what I'm using. So rather, I'm going to go long, and when I go long, I'm going to go long down here, right? And the reason I'm going to go long down here is because my stop out is in the same exact spot, right? But now my 1R gets me to 2R before I even break out of the range, right? So this is good RVR, right? Good risk versus reward, because I have a good opportunity to actually get to my reward, where most traders will fail on their getting stopped out a lot ruling stuff, is that they're going to try and go long in the middle of this, and it requires it to break out in order for them to get to profit, right? So they'll get caught in this chop, bouncing up and down as it tries to work its way out. And inevitably, it often will go just after stopping you out, which is really annoying. Yeah, look, Q's coming down to S4 right now, tagging it. Q's just picked up a seller or a buyer. Someone bought Q's down here, threw orders up at 301.75. Yep. Yeah, exactly. No, you're not wrong, SJ. Let me show you. As a stock moves up and down through its ranges, it's going to move from buying to selling areas or zones, right? So this, for instance, is like R4, right? Or S4, right? Our third levels fall in here, and then this is where our central range is, right? So once you go, if you're going to look to go long, right, you're going to want it to come down as far down as possible to where it's at this lower range here and buy. That way you can use this as your stop. right? But if it goes down here, by moving down here, it goes into a selling range. So if it back tests, you're going to short to go down. If you're longing, you're longing here. If you're shorting here. This is why I like the fourth level so much, because they're inflection points, right? They're the places within the range where decisions are most likely to be made. Are shorts going to start to cover so bulls come in, or are the bears going to defend and the bulls are going to take profit and get squeezed out, right? If we're playing the inside ranges, we traverse back and forth across. And if we're playing outside the ranges, we play breakouts off of those areas, all based upon that. But the reason, what I was talking about in Thursday night, right, is what I'm talking about is the reality, right, that there's this adage out there that really messes new traders up. And it's this concept of buy low, sell high. Right? But as a day trader, this rule only works one time, right? When it's appropriate, right? If it's down here at S4 or S3 and it's above it, well, then you are going to, in fact, probably buy low and sell high. But if it's here at R3 or whatever, you're going to sell high and maybe buy back low. But you're not going to buy back low with the intention of it then going higher again. You're just buying low because you're a short seller. But there is also a point, right, where you're going to sell low as a short seller and buy back lower. And there are instances where you're going to, as in a breakout, think high of day break like John uses, where you're going to actually buy high, expecting to sell higher. But you don't want to buy here, right? Because if you buy within this selling range, you're near that spot where the sell high is, right? So you're more likely to sell and come back down to the bottom of the range than you are to break out. So you don't want to buy until it's higher, right? This is where a lot of people get, beat up. Yep, Thursdays are recorded. So pivots on the diagram. There you go. I should have done those red, but whatever. Right, so right now on Qs, for instance, you wouldn't want to short Qs right now, right? The reason you wouldn't want to short Qs right now, right, is because we're at the very, very bottom of a buying range. And if you're looking to buy low and sell high, this is where you're going to do it, right? This also is a spot, right, where you're very likely to see someone start covering, right? If you're a short seller, you can look for shorts to start to cover. Now, I don't see a big volume spike here, so I don't feel like we've bottomed on this sell yet. So I wouldn't buy here. So what I want to see is I want to see the price on the Qs come through and hit this level and then come back up. And if it comes back up and then consolidates again and then breaks, right, we could be a responsive participant and we could buy high, although we are actually buying quite low, but in the moment we'll be buying higher, right? And look for it to return back up to value higher. And that would really be a lot of fun, right? But we're going to need some volume to turn this thing around, right? We're going to need something to change here. Right now, the book at best is in balance, right? So for me, I can't long here until it sets up a little bit better. And if it moves much lower, you're going to move into another selling zone, right? So you're going to traverse from a selling zone, which you can see was right here, right? You're going to traverse from this selling zone all the way into this selling zone, which means you're going to just keep going right through, right? And that happens all the time, every day, right? We see this happen on various stocks and ETFs. This is previous day. Yeah. Previous day low. Somebody just bought. I just saw some orders come out on the level 2 up at 301.75 again. Right here. 301.65. Someone else just bought. 1200 at 301.25, 1200 at 301.20. Even distributions, both at the ask. This is the same participant. Most likely. I like the even numbers as well. Be interesting to see if we get a rally point here. This would be a really nice spot for a rally point. I mean, right off the bottom of yesterday's low, right at S4. The ladder has actually flipped quite a bit. What about Tesla? Oh, what about it? Just kidding. Let me see. So Tesla is at R5 and just above it. Tesla had a beautiful breakout. It's coming back to previous day's close, wicked that, came back to R5, sits on the top of it, holding that. I mean, it's got some stuff. Q's not quite. Order just came. Now look at Q's. Look at this. Order just came out low. 300.60. Is that right? That's below the daily level. So someone shorted Q's on this pullback into S4, and now they have orders that they threw out, orders that weren't there before. Naughty. Be interesting to see if Q's decides to. We already knew there were orders at $300.50. I just saw those 360s. Now they pulled back a little bit though, which is interesting. I'm curious to see what it does. I forgot to get a drink. Different drink. Plans for the weekend? I think we're gonna hit the kids are in the pool now, so I think after I'm done here, I think I'm gonna go jump in the pool for a little bit, hang out, do some yard stuff, get my country on. Thanks. You know, it's the life. You know, it's one of the joys of living in a vacation paradise full time. There's some orders on the queues. All right. Q's just had a slight profile shift in the volume here. Something's going to happen on Q's in a second. How often do you switch with or without pre-market data? Every time, Mike. It just depends. If the stock is breaking out, then I use I have to use pre-market data, or else the cams are too far out of range. But if it's within range, then I leave it. Thank you, Clover. Clover always there with the. All right, we touched the daily level. Now let's see what happens. Spicy. Look at this thing go. Here comes that 360. We kind of saw that berg there before. You think we get a run all the way down to 300? I mean, if we get much lower, this thing's going to really start to get kind of freaky. All right, there's big orders just came out at 300. All right, we got big orders down here at 300. That would give us the volume we would need too. Let's see if we got enough gas to run for it, or if 350 is gonna hold us up. It looks pretty heavy. I was kind of expecting a little bit of a bounce here, to be honest. Never underestimate the cues. Man, I had some really great trades today. All right, here's 350. Nothing. Ate through those orders like it was nothing. But surprisingly didn't snap. All right, let's see what happens. Maybe they don't, maybe they're not ready for that 300 order. That wasn't quite enough. See if we get a little push here. They're still there. 300 looks real strong, but it might be too strong. They might not be ready for that. Look at this Twitter craziness. You doing it, Jared? Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you could see how weak they went for those orders. It wasn't exciting, that's for sure. Why are people freaking out about Musk? No, see, I wasn't. I'm not worried about the Bitcoin side of it. I mean, some people will freak out on a little bit about it because I think for me, I think Tesla having Bitcoin gave value to Bitcoin, but not the other way around, right? And that's the problem, right? When you hold cash, right, you get the value of cash, and intrinsically, for good or for bad, that cash has has its value, right? It's tied to the US dollar. But Tesla having a giant Bitcoin position, it's not like saying, "Hey, we've got like $1 billion worth of cash sitting in the bank." Right? It's we have $1 billion of an insanely crazy like thing that can go from $30,000 to $10,000 in the course of a weekend, right? And nobody really even knows what it's worth, what it will be worth, or if it'll ever be worth anything, right? So, so for me, I think it helped Tesla a lot to get rid of it because I think for people who are looking at Tesla as an investment, they're not looking to do a double investment. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to invest in Tesla and Bitcoin at the same time, right? I'm looking to invest in Tesla, right? So I want to know that if that product does well, my share price is going to go up. But with Tesla and the Bitcoin thing, you know, if you go along, you know, oh well, Tesla could do great, but if Bitcoin sucks, then my shares still go down, right? And people really just didn't like that. I think that just left a really negative taste for most people in the investment area. So I think once that came out, for me, I think that helps Tesla, right? Because that makes Tesla look good, right? That they've taken that risk off the books, right? So they've made a risk off decision, right? Which investors generically like risk off decisions. But for Bitcoin, that's not good. Right. Oh, also, Srini makes a good point. Also, Musk terminating his acquisition of Twitter, I believe, is actually good for Tesla, right? But and then on top of that, you go the other direction, right? Which is now for Bitcoin. Now you've had a very large entity that was kind of backing the value in something, saying they don't see the value in it anymore, right? They're not willing to hold it, right? So this is a big signal to the market that, yeah, you thought Bitcoin was worthless. Yeah, now they're starting to think it too, right? So it's just going to change the way everyone views cryptos, you know, as an entity in general, because now you're starting to see some of these hawkish companies that were so bullish on cryptos are now all starting to say, yeah, maybe not, maybe it's too risky, right? And that's just not great, you know, for Bitcoin. Where's Bitcoin at right now? Yeah, yeah. See, say look at Bitcoin. Oh yeah, well, so yeah, Square, PayPal, right? There's a bunch of companies out there that have risk on positions with Bitcoin. Let's go see what's up with Snap. Ugh. This stock. 10,427 shares. And then a whole bunch of other ones. That was a weird print. I wasn't on Square or on Snap when that print happened. Did it have a flag code? Right there, 1015. It just printed late. It's a flag code, 200,000. It's a flag 7. It's a late print. It's interesting though. Why put it out now? Q's pushing off the daily level ever so slightly. Q's is picking up orders to the top side. 301.35 just lit up like a Christmas tree. So somebody just bought previous day's low. Jared must be exactly, Miles. Jared must have just added. It's not very nice. This would be a great spot to do this. It was Jeff P. Nice, Jeff. Get it, Jeff. All right, let's see what happens. Let's see if we can rally out. Let's see what happens here. We're going to come back up to S4. Now, we are in the very top of a selling range, being under S4 right now on Qs. So if we pop back up into the bottom of the buying range, our responsive bulls might come in and buy the junk out of S4 and try and rally this thing out into the close. So let's see what they do. Now, we're not there yet. We need to get above S4, do a nice little back test, and then go. But right now, we're definitely loading the ladder a bit to the top side. We do have orders still to the downside, don't forget. So if we get stuffed, we can get stuffed in a hurry. But right now, it looks like our bulls are trying to come in here. Look at this nice volume response here. Margin warnings on IBKR. That's funny. They're like, don't do it. Don't do it. The humanity. All right, now if this stuffs and makes like a new 1 minute low below 300, we could look like an ISO pivot setting up under S4, which would be like a nasty breakdown. But I like that we're not getting pullback volume here. That was solid volume into this push. That does not look like an advance in the other direction. This looks like we struggled a bit to push, and we're actually getting an advance. We're actually getting volume as a response, and I like that. We're gonna make a new 15-minute high. 15-minute high is 301.23. So we basically just banged right into the top of the last 15-minute candle. Look at that. Interesting. All right. Volume. There's volume to the ask. Very nice. That's funny. Thor, what could those orders of 307.39 at 1342? What? At 1342? What? Oh, huh, that's the time. Oh, wow. Sorry, I'm slow. My bad, Sammer. My goodness. It's Friday, folks, and I've been staying up till like 1 in the morning editing stuff. Like I'm just toasty. So orders 307.39. I'm not really sure the question. I mean, they were market orders that got filled on the ask. Look at this. We have this little back test on Qs here of S4. We can always just close this thing in a breakdown. Ladder looks heavy again. Our bulls gave up. What's the thoughts on NIO? Let's look. Wow. Thing really leaked today, huh? I mean, it's in a really nice low extension. I mean, it's just been trending down, but it looks like it's trying to buck that trend. But it's got orders down to 18 still. I'm not seeing a lot to the top side. Most of the order still looks quite bearish still, down through 19. So we're also into the bottom of a previous. So look at the daily range. Look at where we actually are. We're actually at an inflection point here where we're going to start making, look at all of these buyers before this previous breakout. We're actually at a point now to where these folks are going to have to start making decisions to stop out or not. So right now the shorts seem to be engaging them heavily down into 19. So we'll have to see what happens. But right now it would be difficult to short here because we're so low and we're sitting right on top of an area where we've already bought out. Notice how S4 and above is a buying range, right? This is a perfect example of that. So it would be really hard for me to short at this juncture on NIO, just because of that reason alone. But it looks very bearish right now. It's just risk versus reward wise. I would rather play the other direction. So I would probably just not play this one. If you're in a short already and are still holding a short, I would not abandon it yet. It still looks like the short is good, but if it rallies much higher, your shorts are going to start panicking out and covering, right? And it'll make you probably squeeze back up to VWAP or something like that. Q's trying to hold the level. Level 2 looking a little bit more balanced. Still like to see more volume. But it's getting there. Seeing some activity hitting the ask. Seller just popped up at 301.35. Also just had a bid pop out, more bid add at 350. The battle rages on in the queues. I like SPY is now gotten down to S4 as well. So now we have everybody sitting down in this low extension right on top of like the monthly R4, sitting right on top of the previous daily levels. So if we're gonna find a support area, this is it. We've got to defend right here. If we're not going to defend here, then I really don't know if or where we bottom today. So this is the spot. So if we're gonna do this, let's do this. Hey, what up, Chris? How'd your morning shake out, brother? Boom. Look at that. There it goes. Ka-chow. That was a really nice push. Yeah, Neo looked, when I was looking at it, Neo looked very heavy.